There we are. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. We're getting everything situated here. Yeah, hope everybody's having a good week this week. We got a lot going up. I got a special guest for you guys today. And before we dive into all of it, you guys know the routine. Let's take a minute, share this out. If you guys jump on, you watch this, leave a comment, let us know where you're at, and share it if you don't mind. The old poor favor. So there we go. I'm gonna share that out. Good there. This week has been Holy Week for us Christians out there. Those of you that believe and that celebrate Easter. This Easter weekend. Today is Good Friday. So, like I said, those of you that celebrate Easter, remember what this weekend is all about. I'm going to start the show off like this. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lie down his life for his friends. It's John 15, 13. That was in the Bible app this morning. I thought that was appropriate, given what today is and what this weekend is all about. So let's go ahead and let's dive into this week. I've got a very special guest, and I mean special. This week, he is one of the two disgruntled PMs. He's an Army veteran. He's my friend, Trevor Greenberg. Trevor, what is going on, brother? How are you?
Well, it looks like I understood the assignment for Aloha Friday.
I love it. That's a killer shirt. I like the green on that. That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you got the memo. Good stuff. We're off to a good start this week. So, those of you that don't know, Trevor is one of the newest members. His show is one of the newer members of the HMG family. So let's dive into it just a little bit. We got Trevor in the hot seat today. So Trevor, those that are watching or that watch this later on, because it's still a lot of our viewers are over in the West Coast side of the world, so it's still very early for them. Why don't you tell the viewers kind of a little bit about yourself? You are a veteran, yes?
I am. Yes, Army Infantry.
Yeah.
Did 7 years, 4 in the 82nd. I say I got out. Excuse me.
Gets choked up talking about it.
Yeah. I'm talking to Mr. Adam Bird, so you know. I say I got out on time, sir, for good behavior after 7 years.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And what have you done? What's your background now? Or what years did you serve?
04 to 11.
Okay. Nice.
Fun years.
Yeah. Yeah. How many deployments?
3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fun years. You use it, and then you were with the 82nd, so I can imagine that was kept you relatively busy. What since your time in service, what is your background?
I am a project manager. I have spent the last almost 15 years honing that craft and skill, and still not sure I'm that great at it.
When you say project manager, what exactly do you mean by that? Because I think of several different things. So let's give us more of a definition of what a project manager is.
Well, I'll use the same analogy I gave on another show. You
Okay.
know what CrossFit is, right?
Yeah.
CrossFit took a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit from every different creative sports field, and then mashed it all up and made their own thing. That's kind of what project management is, because we're known as, yeah, we've got our project plans, we run meetings, we do all the admin stuff, but we also lead through influence rather than lead through position, because our teams are not ours. We're borrowing resources everywhere we go. So we have to lead through influence. We have to communicate. We have to translate as conduits from the team members and the SM subject matter experts on the teams,
Yeah.
all the way up to executives and stakeholders and sponsors, and know what language to use with which audience.
So would you say you're like the middleman then for everybody?
I'm a conduit.
Conduit. Oh, I like that. That's a big word for me too. Conduit.
Kind of like an Office Space where the guy was the people person.
All right. I love it. Well, let's fast forward then. You recently had started a podcast.
Yep.
Two disgruntled PMs. What sparked this, and what is it?
The spark for me, at least, was fear.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Elaborate.
About a month or two ago, doing something like this terrified me. Getting on a show, talking to somebody, telling my story or talking about something, and then being afraid that it's going to live on the internet forever. And somebody in their mom's basement is going to be typing, "Trevor's a jerk. Trevor was stupid. I don't like what he had to say." And at that point, I reached out to fellow HMG podcasters, the strategic veteran, Adam Peters, and one of the newer members, JJ Hardy. And I was like, hey, they're both really good friends of mine. Let me get on your show just to face that fear. And in the background of all of this, I meet Daniel Hemhauser, who's my co-host. And we're talking about different things. And I had been challenged by somebody since I told them this fear, start your own show.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then me and Daniel started talking about different things. And we just went, let's start a show. Because we both kind of were bouncing around the same idea to each other.
Now hold on a second. So to get the full picture here, because I obviously know the backstory of this. But you and Daniel have not known each other for a very long time.
Nope.
So this just happened to be two guys in the same field that recently met and decided, did we just become best friends? Yep.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
We've known each other. We met through LinkedIn, chatted through LinkedIn for probably 2 months. I think the first time we actually saw each other's faces, aside from our profile pictures, was the day before we met with you.
I did not know that part.
Yep. And we decided, in true PM fashion, we're about 70% there. Yeah. We'll figure the other 30 out along the way. And we decided we're going to launch a podcast in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And I can hear people cringing, podcasters in the back. And that was my initial reaction too. So I'm going to interject here for a minute, because when I met these guys, they're like, hey, we got this podcast idea. And I love the concept of the two disgruntled PMs, and they're breaking it down for me. And they're like, yeah, we're going to start it in like 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, pump the brakes, guys. Where are we with everything? And it was just, and then I get into that mode of like, there's a checklist that we got to go through. And the refreshing part of that conversation was they weren't worried about it. They're like, let's just check the stuff off as we go and document it as we go. Said what a PM would do in a situation like this on a project. And I was like, and at first, honestly, it made me cringe. I was like, oh, this. I don't. Oh. And you try to give, and I was trying to like, hey, we got to do this because I'm used to like take all this. This is what we got to do. Boom, 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 boom. And they're like, yeah, let's cut half of that, and then start with like a sixth of it, and then we'll just work our way up with the other stuff. And I'm just like, oh, you guys are all right. We're brave. We're doing it, and it was great. Communication's been great. And you guys, we'll get to it. We're not going to talk about it right now, but we'll get to the first episode. here a little bit later and talk about that. But it did launch this past Monday. Was episode
Mhm.
one that came out, and it's been very successful uh, with it. And it's you guys have already got plans for guests and other things coming up. So the flow of it is it's exciting. I'm excited to see what happens with it moving forward on the show. You want to give us kind of a tidbit, a little bit more about what you guys,
Sure.
talk about, or what people can expect?
So we titled it Two Disgruntled PMs because PMs are notorious about, and just like in any profession where you meet someone, you talk to them, and you always got to tell them the horror stories, the problems, the my story's worse than yours situation.
Yeah.
And we both said all of the PM podcasts out there that we've heard, or most of the ones that we've heard at least, they're boring. They talk about the book, they talk about best practices, they talk about preparing you for the PMP or different certifications. We just are two friends talking about PM stuff. It's educational, it's humorous, it's I say you'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll listen to our shenanigans at the same time. We constantly tell embarrassing stories about each other. And the real big twist to the show is the project. So we are treating this whole thing as a project, meaning we have our project plans, we have our roadmaps, we have all the project management stuff that you would expect if you're a PM interested in something like this,
Right.
and we're sharing it. We're talking about it. Like I'll give a little bit of a tidbit preview of our show coming out on Monday.
Okay.
Adam knows this because I've been telling him, but I've been having problems with Apple. So I tell the story of me sitting on tech support with Apple for 2.5 hours, and one of the techs asks me about about the show, and I'm like, and I tell it to him, and he's like, "That sounds like a great show. I'd really like to listen to it." I was like, "Well, then get it on Apple Podcasts so you can listen to it." These are the kinds of stories that we're telling on our show that you don't hear on other podcasts about all the problems that podcasters have that they'll tell each other in the back room, but they don't want to air that dirty laundry. We're happy to air it all out and just say, hey, we messed up on a couple of things. Like we were over ambitious and started on YouTube early, and then we had to take the YouTube channel offline because we just don't have the bandwidth for it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun show to listen to, and it it really kinda gives into, like, a behind the scenes of what really goes into, creating a podcast. Um, I like it in a sense because it gave me a different perspective. I mean, I've been obviously, I've been doing this for a long time now, over a decade, and it's for me, it's like you gotta hit all these marks, and you gotta do it right now, and you gotta do this, you gotta do this, and taking this approach to how they're doing it with this show is pretty refreshing, and it honestly, it draws back a little bit on those that may be intimidated to starting a show or question whether or not they can start a show. Um, these guys kind of break down a little bit and dissect a little bit more what the process is and how they fight through it. And I'm looking forward to the Apple uh, the Apple one. Yeah.
Well, and and I'll tell you, since we announced the show, because collectively we focused on launching this on LinkedIn because that's where we're both at
Right.
professionally. And Daniel Hamhauser, is my co-host, is he is the number one content producer for project management on LinkedIn in the US. Combined, we have over 40,000 followers. He's got 40, I've got one. The show page has more followers than me personally, but that's what makes this kind of a great mix. Is if you have two giant influencers hosting a show, they're influencers. They're talking about obtuse stuff that is out of touch with the common man. I'm the village idiot.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I understand what you're saying. You're certainly not an idiot, but it's I see your point that you're making there. It's a good show. I'm excited to have you guys on, folks. And again, we'll get into more about what their show is here once we get into the shows. But we're happy, nonetheless. We are happy to have you part of the HMG family. Ken, good morning to you, brother. Appreciate you jumping on as always. Ken's another Army guy. Served with him. He's out in Arizona, where I'm sure the weather is much nicer than it is here. All right, Trevor. I'm gonna dive into some of the topics. You've seen the show. Now, usually, what happens is this time of the show where I'd like to take some news articles that I have found interesting and just read them off. And it's one of those, it's just one of those things where I'm just going to throw it out there, and I want to get people's reactions from
Do I have the choice to send it back, or do I have to
it.
accept it?
You can send it. You can leave it, marinate on it, or you could just send it right back. Or you could just say, "Hey, you know what? No comment on that one." And at that point, I understand. But I think I've got a couple of doozies for us here today. So, what do we got here? David, good morning, brother. Appreciate you jumping on. Ken says it's going to snow today. And wow, yeah, there's a Prescott area flights. It's going to snow really this late in the season. All right, well. I keep it.
I don't want any of that.
We don't want any of that. We've had enough. No, it's been cold enough. Like I need some warm weather now. That's hence this is me trying to attract some of the warmer climates. All right, let's get into some of the news topics today. Judge rules that Google illegally dominates the market. Quite frankly, I'm shocked by this, said no man ever. U.S. District Judge found that Google illegally monopolized online advertising technology, violating an antitrust laws. What? No way.
Wait, haven't we heard this like every 5 years for the past 20?
And has anything been done about it? Answer? No.
Fines that are slap on the wrist, probably.
Right. Yeah, but what's happening now for over a decade? Google has titled its publisher ad server and ad exchange together through different contract policies and technological integration, which enable the company to establish and protect its monopoly power in the publisher and ad server and ad exchange markets. This is actually a judge. There's several lawsuits going on with Google right now. One is this. The other one is this and AI with copyright laws, and they're on both sides of those lawsuits, which is very interesting. And I say this from a marketing standpoint, being in that business a little bit, is that Google has been the 800-pound gorilla in the advertising space. You know, you get Google ads and you get all the search engines and blah 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 blah. It's nice to see that somebody's starting to crack down on all this stuff. Let's hopefully something will change from this and it won't be Google dominated. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to get some hate from them. I'm not the biggest Google fan. So I said,
can I play devil's advocate on that argument?
Please.
So monopolies typically are created because somebody is extraordinarily good at what they do and they help buy out the market, right?
Okay.
You've got to have both for a monopoly to exist.
Yeah.
So I have no dog in the fight. I personally don't care about Google advertising one way or the other. But what I will say is there are probably a lot of businesses that rely on Google being effective at what they do. So if you break up Google's monopoly, and I'll put that in air quotes, then what happens to all these businesses that rely on that service to reach their customers or new customers? Because now instead of dealing with one really good product that you're dumping your money into, now you're dumping your money across probably 4 or 5 inferior products, untested, and you're battling for market share again.
And I would argue. So here's my argument with that. You make a great point, but my argument is it a good product, or is
I
it
have no
just,
idea.
or is it just one of the? And this is. I'm glad we're having this. This is why you guys need to look this stuff up. If you're in the market, if in your marketing, there's plenty of marketers out there that watch the show, and other companies that we work with that do marketing for their clients and whatnot. Leave it. I know some of you guys will watch this later in the day or throughout the weekend. Leave a comment on this. I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts on this Google thing because um, I, I've ran Google ads in the past for other businesses, and it was like it was really the only option that you had, and it was overpriced, and you didn't get squat for it. Do I think there's other things out there that are better? Probably. I don't know. I know there's other areas that you can do it in that are cost effective other than Google, but does that make them any better? I don't know. I don't know.
So while we're on the marketing topic, I want to throw something at you. So I had to read the book by the former chief marketing officer of Coke for when I was in my MBA program,
Okay.
and he was there for the new Coke ad. And to this day, nobody knows was the new Coke a giant marketing campaign to create the reminiscence and everybody saying, I want my old Coke back? Or was it just a terrible idea that they launched and it failed miserably? And then they brought back the old Coke.
So you're saying was it like a mind
Well,
shift?
but nobody knows because nobody wants to admit whichever way the meetings went in the back room. Because when they released the new Coke, it flopped horribly, if anybody remembers that.
Right.
And all everyone said was, I want my old Coke back. And then Coca-Cola started thriving in sales after they re-released the original recipe. But I kind of go back to that example for a lot of things when we start talking about marketing, because is it a horrible idea that you just have to backtrack on and then cover your tracks for? Or was it a whole strategy in and of itself to fall on your face for a minute to remind people what you had?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because if we take, bringing it back to your topic of the Google ads,
Yeah.
Microsoft has proven that when their antitrust legislation happened and they had to break up their monopolies of including Internet Explorer and all the
Yeah.
Microsoft products on the computer,
Yeah.
they've proven they had an inferior product afterwards because it wasn't packaged in. They didn't get all the feedback, all the adoption, and all the usage of their products because they had to be sold as separate products.
It's a good point. Valid points. I got nothing for that. The Coke thing, I do remember that. I do remember their sales going up. It's funny. I used to work for a Coca-Cola company in my early 20s, way back in the day. I was a Pepsi drinker at the time. I don't know. Figure it out.
You go where the paycheck is.
You go. Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. This is unfortunately not some good news. But yesterday there was a shooting at Florida State University. Leaves
Mhm.
several hospitalized. 2 people were killed and 6 others were injured in the shooting. In Tallahassee, authorities said the shooting began around 11:50 a.m. during a press conference. Later that afternoon, authorities identified the suspect shooter as a 20-year-old. I'm not going to say his name because I don't think he's worth saying.
Well done.
He was taken into an area hospital after being neutralized by authorities. Police also said his mother, who is a sheriff's deputy in said county, I'm not going to say that either, said that he used one of his mother's weapons in the shooting. However, the sheriff's department did come out and say that the mother is an upstanding deputy and has, this is complete. It does not affect views on her in any way, shape, or form. So our hearts go out to the families of the two people that were killed. Those two people were not, I repeat, the two people were not FSU students, according to authorities. The area is considered to be an active crime scene, and authorities believe that the suspect did act alone. So that happened yesterday. Here's one that I definitely want to get your opinion on. 06, good morning, brother. Appreciate you. Who reaches pandemic agreement? I'm not who? Not who the band. Who? I'm talking about the World Health Organization. You guys know. Listen. It's been a while since I've talked about them, so it's like you guys know.
Oh, jeez.
So here we go. Right. The WHO, World Health Organization, morons, have reached a draft pandemic agreement that has been in development in the works since December of 2021. The nations of the world made history, said the WHO director. Who? Sorry. Proposals in the agreement include creating a pathogen access and benefit sharing system utilizing a One Health system, technology transfers, establishing a global health emergency team, and developing a global supply chain and logistics network. But wait, it gets better. According to the WHO, the draft agreement does not allow the health body to, quote, mandate states to take specific actions such as ban or accept travelers, impose vaccine mandates, or therapeutic or diagnostic measures or implementations lockdowns, end quote. I'd also like to state in this that President Trump signed an executive order in January to begin the process of withdrawing the United States from the WHO. Do you have any input on the WHO?
Well, you handed me a game of Russian roulette here. So what I will start off with is, I think it was Reagan. And as somebody who is uniquely qualified to say this, because I've both worked for the VA for 4 years and I served in the Army for 7.
Mm-hmm.
When someone says, I'm here for the government, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help, we do not believe them.
Yeah.
Now, I know the government does great things for a lot of people. I may have a jaded view, I may have a biased view. But having seen the internal workings of a lot of things, having sat there and observed a lot of what's happened in the last, we'll say, 10 years, all of these international agreements are great. But it's just like I've told consulting clients. I can bring you the best plan in the world, but it's useless unless you implement it into your organization. So I will say any of these things are great in theory, but you got to see them executed as intended, not as each individual party wishes them to be executed.
Interesting take. Interesting take. See, the conspiracy in me. Oh, come on, guys. Do you really think I wasn't going to go there?
Hold on, let me go get some aluminum foil for my hat.
Wow. All right. No, listen. I look at this as like one of those. This is good and bad. I like the fact that the U.S. is that President Trump is withdrawing from the World Health. See, I'm talking about it, and they're trying to cut off my cameras and stuff already, guys. They're on to us. I think this is a good move in both sides of it. If I just don't think the United States needs to be a part of it. That's my opinion. Because I don't trust them. And I say that I don't trust the World Health Organization. I just don't trust them. I just think it's funny that this is happening. And there goes. Oh, okay, we're still on. Yeah. See, they don't like it. They're on. Moving on. We're gonna move on to the next one. Blue Falcon launches. Oh, sorry. I read that wrong. I apologize. I'm sorry. The Blue Origin rocket. I'm sorry. The Blue Origin rocket.
Now you have to explain that. You have to explain that to the audience that doesn't know what that means.
I can't. The Blue Origin. I misspoke. I apologize. Blue Origin launches Katy Perry and an all-female crew into space, completes a safe landing. Who? I don't know if you guys saw this earlier this week. I think this was one of those. Yeah. Katy Perry and a crew of females went into space, and it was like a 10-minute flight, and they came back down somewhere in Texas. They took a trip on Blue Origin New Shepard mission, NS-31, alongside Jeff Bezos' fiance Lauren Sanchez, television host Gail King, film producer Catherine Flynn, and NASA rocket scientist Elisa Bowie, and civil rights activist Amanda Nigel. Multiple celebrities were in attendance. Apparently, nobody gives a shit, including Oprah. Why am I bringing this up? Because one, I thought it was a Blue Falcon, quite frankly, and two, when you watch the video of this, it looks fake. The entire thing looked staged and fake. It just looked fake. The takeoff, fake. The landing, when it landed, it looked like it was brand new. Now, when you come back from space, your capsule, vehicle, what have you, it's not going to look like it just went through a car wash. So it lands and the door opens, and somebody went up and said, no, shut the door. So they shut the door, and then you see them walking around for like 10 minutes. And then Bezos goes on with like this special tool to open the door. And it was like, hey, you already ruined it. Like, somebody didn't edit that part out. You guys messed up. Like, why did they do this? I don't know. I think we'll find out more next week on why this was supposed to be like some big deal. Maybe it was just a publicity stunt. I don't know. Ken says, I work with a lot of Blue Falcons in space, return the unwanted Amazon delivery.
So while we're on the topic of Blue Falcons,
yeah. Do you want to wait a minute? Do you want to explain Blue Falcon?
I will. But
okay.
I have context first, because when I was in the 82nd, I was in 2nd Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment.
Okay.
The only airborne infantry regiment that still exists, because they were originally gliders, not parachute infantry regiment. Fun piece of trivia.
Really?
Yep. Every other regiment is parachute infantry regiment, which were originally created as paratroopers. 325 was created as glider infantry, which is why they were airborne infantry, and it never got changed.
I didn't know that. That's pretty wow.
And 325, second 325 is, or second 325 is Falcon Brigade, and each battalion is colored. So there's 1st Battalion is Red Falcons, 2nd Battalion is White Falcons, 3rd Battalion is Blue Falcons. I was in 2nd Battalion. So you don't even need to imagine what 3rd Bat had to deal with.
A bunch of Blue Falcons.
Exactly. And a Blue Falcon is a polite way of saying somebody who is not nice to their friend. You know, you like when Adam set me up with that conspiracy who story, I might call him a Blue Falcon, or off air something else with the same initials.
I saw this. I was watching the news the other day. I wasn't watching, flipping through social, and I saw this. All and there's so many. The jokes write themselves on this one. David, a giant riding a blue flame in the sky, does professional.
And my comment on all of this is congratulations, you have money, you went to space.
Yeah,
Good job.
yeah.
Good
And
job.
your 10-minute ride. Again, I can't. I'm not gonna do it. It's the jokes write themselves. I know there's gonna be more jokes. I've seen some of the memes. Oh, of all female. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
I think I maybe even sent you one yesterday.
yeah, you did. There's how are the the these two that are in the comments right now. Keep them coming, guys, because I know you guys got a bunch of them. Moving on. In the meantime, bill protecting pesticide availability prevails in North Dakota Senate. North Dakota Senate passed House bill on Monday, 1318, on a 29-18 vote, aiming to shield pesticide manufacturers from lawsuits if their products carry EPA-approved labels. Supporters say the bill will provide legal clarity and supports the use of science and modern farming. Quote, the only way we can do this through enhanced scientific methods, and that's why most of the farmers are concerned about this issue, end quote. I bring this part up because we talk a lot about food sovereignty and stuff like that. Our networks, one of our network sponsors from the farm, they're doing a lot with local farmers all over the place. What is it that you're putting in your bodies, right? Um, and the more and more the last couple of years, I don't like going to like big grocery stores. Right? I like going to like farmers markets and out where where I spend most of my time out east here. I'm in Amish country, so it's great for us. It's a little more expensive, but you know what you're getting. Like you go to these Amish markets and whatnot, they're not using pesticides. They're very old school on how they do their farming and whatnot. Same thing with working with. We got a local ranch that we work with, and every year we buy half a cow, and we know what that cow's been feeding on. I get updates on stuff every 90 days. You know, when I started looking into this, I called from the farm, my buddy AJ over there, and asked him, "Hey, what questions should I be asking to ensure that I'm not getting, beef like you find in the store that's, all these GMOs and steroids and all this other crap." Started doing that with chickens, starting to do that now with pigs. Um, so this is important. This pesticide stuff is important in my opinion, and I think that's what I bring that up because I think everybody really needs to take a look at it. If this is happening up in North Dakota, it could happen where you're at too.
I think there's a balancing act
Go.
because, as as I'm looking at prices on food and stuff, I've got a family to feed. We go to farmers markets and I see the difference in price at the farmers market versus at the local big box chain.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say one is better than the other, but I think that there's a balance of if you can afford it, yes, go as organic as you can.
Right.
But as somebody I once served with, Dan Holloway, once said, we should not be in a country where you can only be as healthy as you can afford to be.
Oh.
I agree with that, but to an extent, because there's a lot of things that people can do that are simple behavior changes to be healthier, but they don't want to.
Mm.
I'm guilty of it as anyone is. I go get some fast food and it's 50 cents upcharge to double the size of my soda. So I do it because it's only 50 cents and I get twice as much soda. But what I don't do is my wife and I made an agreement probably 10 years ago we very rarely keep soda in our house. That keeps us not drinking it, because then it's a treat when we go out somewhere to go get it, but it's not. I'm not reaching for three Pepsis in a day because they're in the fridge right next to my desk.
Yeah, it's not a habit. You're doing what you're cutting back like other people will cut back, sweets, sugar, well, like
Yeah. If
pop, soda, whatever you guys wanna call it, but like pop, making sure you don't have that in the house. The sugary, like, we don't have a lot of sweets in this house, and I have I can have a sweet tooth from time to time, but I purposely don't. I've been, now it's like if I'm feeling snackish, it's, almonds or
mhm.
walnuts or dry some type of dried fruit or now, and I oh god, I hate it. You know what I mean? But it's like that's you're eating healthier if you can afford. And here's the thing. I like
And
what you just said, like eating healthy if you can afford it. And not everybody can afford to go to farmers markets and whatnot. So one of the things that I started doing over the last couple of years is um being more self-sufficient. What can you do? I have, about 15 5-gallon buckets on my back deck where I'm growing certain things that I constantly use, whether it's dill, dill weed, onions, potatoes. We got a potato tower, um, and stuff like that. And because I know where that stuff is coming from. And usually, some of you are like, well, if you bought it from the store and you're planting it, it's got the same stuff. It takes about 2 generations or 2 cycles to get that out. But there's
well,
things that you can be doing.
there are co-ops. There are, like, I know our library has seed exchanges where you can get seeds from the library. There's co-ops in town where you can go grow crops. So I'm not going to say space is your problem. I'm just going to say it's effort, and there is some economics to it, because I look at, you know, it's no secret steak is expensive.
Yeah.
And if I go out, like, I was talking about getting steak for months, but I've been unemployed. So, told my wife, I'm like, I need a reason to celebrate to get steak. So something happened a couple months ago. Went down to the local grocery store. They have, like, they were 5-ounce bacon wrap fillets for $5. Talked to the butcher. The butcher was like, "Oh yeah, usually these are scraps, but let me take a look at the ones you got." It's like, "Oh no, those are good. Those are good." And he handed them to me, and I went home and I cooked up 10 ounces of steak for $10 as a treat. But that same amount of steak, if I had gone to the farmer's market, probably would have been twice that.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act of
Well,
what you can afford versus what you can
and here
adequately use to provide for your family.
and what I tell people when it comes to beef, I'll use this as a beef. And David, you're making a good point. I see what you're saying there. One of the things that I did when it came to what are we doing with beef? How much beef are we consuming, right? Like hamburgers. We get a lot of ground because I mix that with I'll make tacos or I'm a sucker for just like noodles and ground beef. But like when we picked out the half a cow and what it came with, it was like briskets, and then you get like all these Delmonico steaks and New York strips and like, and they're big portioned steaks that would run, 25, 35, sometimes $50 depending on a fancy restaurant that you go to for that same steak, right? And now I'm getting 8, 9 of them in a half a cow or whatever. Uh and I'm paying, do I pay more upfront? Yeah, but as you break it down, it comes out to, I think it was like $3.80 a pound for the
Yeah,
beef added. So if
we've
you look at it from that. Now here's the other thing. The other thing you got to look at is you have to make sure that you have room. You got a big
mhm.
enough freezer to put it. I'm gonna tell you right now, I got a fairly big freezer, and I almost bought another freezer just to put it in. I wanted another freezer anyway. I didn't get it, but
Well,
it's
do you know why that happened? Do you know why that happened?
why is that?
There's a well-known principle. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's we expand to what we have. Like, think back to the military.
Yeah,
You get a promotion, you get a pay raise, right?
yeah,
How many times did you hear people say, "Oh, well, with this extra couple $100, we're gonna put it away and build the nest egg or put it towards the car or whatever"? and then 6 months later, you ask them, "Oh, so how's that going?" I haven't done anything with it because they expanded their lifestyle
Right.
to what they make, and it's kind of we do that same thing with everything. We had we had a small freezer for probably 5 or 6 years, and it was constantly full from going to Costco and buying stuff and stocking up. We had to upgrade.
Yeah.
Got a bigger freezer, and that thing is always half full. We're lucky that we have the means to do that, but it's just the idea that you have it, so you're going to use it.
I when it came to the beef and buying a half a cow a year, that's one of the best decisions that we've made because of what
Yeah.
we eat and stuff. One, it's healthier. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Go to any of your local stores and buy ground beef, buy a pound of ground beef, and then take some ground beef from a local rancher or whatnot. And again, like you're paying the upfront cost, 380 a pound, and you're getting 200 pounds of or 180 pounds of beef. It looks like you're paying more upfront, but if you divide that out in
Hmm.
from like let's say January to December, you save so much money buying a half a cow than you would it, and more importantly, it's better quality uh beef for you. So
I'll
you get the nice steaks, you get the nice roast, you get what and whatever. We do the soup bones because we do our own bone broth and stuff like that. And it yeah, it takes up the freezer space, but I don't have to we I don't buy meat the rest of the year. And then I
I'll
hunt.
do one better.
So it's like,
I'll do one better. You just hit on the point right that I was going to make. Find a friend who hunts.
oh yeah.
You know, I've gotten deer meat multiple times from my wife's family because they hunt.
Yeah.
I personally stopped hunting when I got my DD 214.
Yeah.
You know, it
A lot of guys do. Yeah. Yeah.
it's but some people they that's their passion, that's their thing. They they kill more meat. They get more meat than they know what to do with sometimes because they just enjoy the hobby and the food comes as a side effect.
No, and there are people that do that. I can tell you, growing up, I'm an outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, and every time we hunt and fish, it's for a purpose, and that's usually to fill the freezer. We like especially during hunting season. Fishing sometimes we'll go out, catch and release, but for the most part, everything else is the purpose, and we use everything. We use every bit of the animal too. There's no wasting it. We got to move on. I got one more story here, and let's get into it. And then we'll get into the shows. Let's end the news topics on a high note. Returning to the ranks. As of yesterday, United States Marine Corps Sergeant Dakota Meyer, who is a Medal of Honor recipient, has returned to service on the afternoon of April 17th, 2025 in the Pentagon's Hall of Heroes. My understanding is he is the first Medal of Honor recipient to reenlist back into any branch of service throughout U.S. history. There's been Medal of Honor recipients that have stayed in the service after receiving the Medal of Honor, but this is the first time that somebody has come back and reenlisted, and it's been about a 14-year gap, I think they said. And great news for the Marine Corps. A lot of Marines out there posting on social media that this has been a good thing for the Corps. Many other things to come down, but I mean, a big salute
Uh,
to Dakota.
I have controversial take on this in two statements. The first one is one word, why?
Hmm.
And then the second one is only Marine would do this.
That's,
No,
it's for some of you
I,
that's interchangeable. That's inter service love. That's what that is.
I,
Let's be clear on that. You guys know, but
I had the probably about I don't even remember how long ago it was. I had the privilege of going to a breakfast sponsored by Wounded Warrior Project where they had one of the largest gatherings of Medal of Honor recipients in the country. And I sat down, I talked to a bunch of them. I met one when he was speaking at Auburn University. I was there. I got there. I was the first one there, got there early, wanted to meet the guy, wanted to talk to him. I've heard him talk on multiple podcasts after that. One of the things that I constantly heard from the Medal of Honor recipients is once you get that medal, the Army kind of just puts you in a box, or the military, whatever branch it is, kind of just puts you in a box and bubble wraps you because you're a Medal of Honor recipient. They don't want something to happen to you.
Right.
So I just ask, what's the motivation for going back in, knowing that you're not going to be deployed? You're probably not even going to be handed a rifle, even though you're a Marine. Is it for morale? If it is, great. That's awesome. Go around, do your thing. But I knew people on the Army Marksmanship Unit when I was at Benning, and I'll never forget this because it was such a cathartic moment. I had multiple trips with the 82nd, and I'm sitting there talking to this guy who's a pistol instructor for the Army Marksmanship Unit, competitive pistol shooter. That's all he's ever known. And he's telling me about how Ranger Battalion is going to take him on a deployment, give him a team, and he's going to go overseas, go kick in the door as a team leader with the Ranger Battalion, never having served one day on the line. And I just sat there and I looked around his apartment because he lived 2 doors down from me. Tables full of coins, everything you would expect from one of the demonstration teams. And I just said, that's absolutely what they're going to do, is give you a fire team, having never served a day in battalion, not going through RIP, not getting a tab.
Yeah.
They're going to give you a team just because you showed up because you're on the AMU.
And you're like, I'm going to need you to pee in this cup.
Well, I say this because we have a tendency to take dumps on a lot of things that we might not understand.
Right.
Like the military band, the Army Marksmanship Unit, the Blue Angels, for some reason, get all the respect in the world. But the reason is because those guys and girls, they come in, they do a 3-year, 5-year rotation, whatever it is with the Blue Angels, and then they go back to their units. It's a temporary assignment. It's not a career. And I just question, what is his motivation for going back in after a 14-year service break?
Dakota is one. I mean, he's true and true. He signed up in what was it, 2006, and was in the Corps until 2010 when he was honorably discharged after 2 deployments in the Middle East. One could speculate that they're going back in to help with morale and recruiting or whatnot. And nobody knows where he's going to end up. If he ends back, do you think he'll end up back in a line unit? I don't know.
No.
Probably not, because he's a Medal of Honor recipient. I had a smart ass remark for this. Like it was going to go through the history, like Gunny Highway was a Medal of Honor, because
Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah, and that's but it's like maybe he turns out to be the next Gunny Highway, and I say that jokingly, guys, obviously, but if you've ever met Dakota Meyer, or if you listened to him talk, I mean, he's maybe he just wanted purpose. Maybe he felt like there was purpose there, and he wanted to get back in because he was missing something in his life. I'm not answering. I don't know, but God bless him if that's the case.
I will never talk down on somebody that raises their hand and takes the oath, because we've all done it. We all have those friends that are like, oh, well, I didn't serve. I didn't do what you did.
Yeah.
And do you know who Austin von Lichtenman is?
Yeah.
He had a really funny video that he made about going to MEPS. Everybody goes to MEPS, and there's always the 80-year-old doctor that has you bend over and spread him and looks at your butthole. He's like, it's the same 80-year-old man everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what city you're in. And then he ends it with, and remember, that war hero, that war fighter, that operator that you look up to, that 80-year-old doctor looked at his butthole too. when he made that video, I kind of look for meaning in random places sometimes. And I always say, great, you did something that I didn't do, but that doesn't make me any less of a person.
Right.
And that puts the whole thing in perspective of everybody had to bend over and spread them. Everybody had to do the same things when they got in. And just because you served, just because you know, you didn't do the Tom Satterley route where you went Delta and were in the Battle of Mogadishu and everything else. You may have just been, well, not just, but you were a pack clerk for 4 years or a reservist for 4 years, never saw a day outside of
The wire.
your hometown,
Yeah.
not even the water, your hometown. That doesn't make it any less dignified of what you did.
Right. Yeah.
And
If you raised your right hand,
because you didn't know what was coming around when how many people knew 9/11 was going to happen weeks before they raised their hand and went to boot camp, never mind years.
yeah.
And, we can pontificate all day long about why Dakota is going back in. His life has been on display for years of all of his, I'll say shortcomings, but I don't want to call them that.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
He's been on display for so long. There's a lot of Medal of Honor recipients that become recluses. There's ones that they earn it, they go do their thing. Malcolm Gladwell had a really good series where he highlights Medal of Honor recipients. And I just want to know before I make a judgment, I would want to say, why are you re-enlisting after a 14-year break? Because most people don't do that normally, never mind with the Medal of Honor in hand. And if it's,
this just happened yesterday afternoon. I would assume that there'll probably be some type of press conference or there'll be, some type of statement made over the next couple of weeks with him being out. I mean, he did a PT or he did PT yesterday with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. There's several other people in attendance. I know the article that I read, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps was out there too. It
good for him.
It's
good for him.
It's pretty cool to see, and at the same time, like you said, my reaction is like, why? But at the same time, it's like that's pretty freaking cool too.
If he's going in and he's doing PT and he's being a Marine,
yeah, and
thumbs up, awesome job, dude.
They did say in the thing that he had to take a physical fitness test and passed it with flying colors. So it's all the best to Dakota, and not as surprised that he's continuing to move forward with the character that he has. So we need to get into the shows here. Excuse me. We're going to dive into what you missed on the podcast this week. First show up in the queue, two distinct disgruntled PMs with Trevor. Trevor, what your first episode? First off, congratulations again on this. What was this episode about?
It's called the kickoff meeting because in project management, every project starts with a kickoff meeting. So we're practicing what we preach of, hey, this is our kickoff meeting. We talk about what's the show about, what's the purpose, where are we starting, what are we doing? And then we tell a couple of anecdotal stories from our experience. And then we actually break down and discuss in easy to digest terms, what is a kickoff meeting? Because one of the things that I'm adamant and passionate about is I hate PMs who go into the minutia and details of things and pontificate about stuff. And now let's talk in plain English. Let's explain it so the people that don't understand what we do, we can explain it to them so they can be like, oh, so when someone says around the office, we're going more agile, and they go, oh yeah, we're going more agile. Well, what does that mean? Oh, we're moving, we're changing, we're doing things. Okay, well, agile is a methodology for project management. Let's educate you on what that means so you can then say, oh, we're doing iterative iterative sprints and things like that.
Nice. Now you got episodes lined up. When can people expect to hear the next episode?
Monday. It's already recorded and ready for editing.
I love it. I love it. Two Disgruntled PMs. Make sure you check them out. You can catch them on all their. Make sure you check out all their social media platforms. Go to their show page on Heroes Media Group, and you can also see them on Amazon. Was that
we are on Amazon? Yes.
Amazon and Spotify was the other one.
Yes.
Correct. And they're continuing to grow, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So stay tuned. Stand by with that. Trevor, thank you so much for that. Next up, we got Warrior Veteranpreneur Podcast, another show that we are both very familiar of. This week, his guests were yours truly. Boom, we're right here. We are right here. Both of us got to bless the Warrior Veteranpreneur Podcast this week. Great episode. Make sure you guys check it out. It's JJ does a great job with this show. You can watch it on his YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go check that out. Warrior Veteranpreneur Podcast. Next up, we got Keep It Spiritually Simple with our friend Sandra. This week, she's talking, do you have a toxic closet, kitchen, or pantry? This is a pretty eye-opening and kind of nasty thing. You start looking at some of the things that are in your closet or in your pantry, you're like, that's not, we got to get rid of that. So check that out. Keep It Spiritually Simple. Again, folks, quick reminder, you can check out all the shows in the Heroes Media Group website. Go to their show page. Make sure you follow those social platforms. Next up, we got True Patriot Outfitters with their Doc Talk podcast. Final new episode coming up. What does that mean? Tuesday, April 22nd. It's the last show of the Doc Talk podcast. Sad Panda.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Is it really? Well, yeah. So here's the thing. They're ending True Patriot Outfitters. They're ending their Doc Talk podcast after 5 seasons. But it's because they're working on a new project. What is that? You got to listen to find out what's they're up to next. I'm excited about it. So stay tuned for more True Patriot Outfitters. Check them out. Faith, Valor, Growth has a new episode out this week. This week, the hosts explore the intersections of faith and leadership. They kick off with a light chat before diving into deeper spiritual reflections. Host J Mac shares his personal struggles with feeling unworthy to discuss faith, sparking a conversation on perception of Christians and the essence of relationship with Christ. And then Dominic highlights Jesus' inclusive ministry, emphasizing the importance of reaching out to all regardless of their backgrounds. Faith, Valor, Growth. Check it out. Next up, another buddy of ours, Trevor, the strategic veteran with Mr. Adam Peters. He did a couple of episodes this week, one with David Pierre, a buddy of ours from military to millionaire. And then this one here that we're going to talk about, he spoke with Ben Vernon, Air Force veteran, who pivoted from a nuclear missile security to launching his own dog training business. This was a pretty interesting episode. He had some humble beginnings that he talks about in the security forces, his unexpected path towards the Secret Service, and how a failed polygraph exam eventually led to a thriving 6-figure business. Really cool episode. Check it out. The Strategic Veteran. What do we got next? Homefront Sit Rep Podcast. Another gentleman that we also know. This week is the story of a war hero newlyweds. Retired war hero's family trade the keys in for their condo for an old life in picturesque Monteo on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, to the keys to an old FedEx fleet van with just over 300,000 miles on it. Did I read that right? So they gave up their house, their condo, for a fleet van with 300,000 plus miles on it. Yeah, I did read that right.
There's a lot of YouTube channels of people that do stuff like that and
I'm
outfit these vans like insane ways.
It's like, holy cow. So after taking action to ensure Roanoke Island, North Carolina was named America's first Purple Heart Island in September of 2024, Lauren Wright Wallace and her newlywed husband, Air Force Senior Master Sergeant retired, Dr. Kevin Wallace, decided to commit the next chapter of their life to fully helping tell the story of sacrifice through social media, literature, art, and music. This was a really uh cool episode because you like look at it, you're like, they did what? And what they're doing right now is awesome. And you're asking me, well, so what are they doing? Well, take a listen to it and find out. Homefront sit rep high. You like how I did that? Yeah.
Good sell.
Yeah, thank you. Next up, JMac podcast this week. He's speaking with Marcus McGee and gets real about advice he gives his kids and the pain that he carried growing up. Quote, we talk about breaking down cycles of negativity, raising kids from strength and empathy. What healing really looks like when you've been doubted all your life. So this is a pretty cool episode, JMac podcast. Check that out. What do we got next here? Patriots Inside the Wire, the two-step crew. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I know they're adding a fourth one. But this week, several episodes. This one here that we're talking about, Major General retired Gail Pollock was the first woman and non-physician to serve as the acting Surgeon General of the United States Army. She's a trailblazer in military medicine. Major General Pollock also served as the commander of the Army Medical Command and the 22nd Chief of the Army Nurses Corps. Go check that out. This woman has done a lot of things in her career and post-career. Check it out, Patriots Inside the Wire. Next up, Bump in the Road podcast. Pat always does great episodes. I talked to Pat the other day, and she's got shows lined up from now until the end of October already. And she's got a waiting list going for people to be on her show. This week is finding one's voice can be a daunting journey. And she speaks with Laura Reed, who had to overcome a severe stutter. And now she's a public speaker, teacher, teaches other people the ins and outs of effective communication. Maybe I can learn that because I clearly cannot talk today. Bump in the Road podcast. Check it out. Next, just a few more. Stay with us, folks. Arms Room Show every Monday, 2 p.m. Arizona time. They got a new episode that comes out this week. This week was their Q&A show. They do this once, maybe twice a year. It's always exciting. They're answering questions from you, the listeners. So make sure you check it out to see if if your question got answered on this week's show. Arms Room Show, one of the OGs of HMG. Next up, Misfit Nation podcast. They do a couple of shows each week. This week, host Rich LaMonica welcomes Army veteran Eric Donahoe. He's a beacon of resilience, leadership, and purpose, from earning a Purple Heart to founding a Hand Up Reality. I don't know why did I say reality. Realty, Jesus. Eric's journey exemplifies overcoming adversity and creating a meaningful impact. This guy has done a lot post-service. He's an advocate for veterans' rights, mental health, and global empowerment. His pivotal work led to the passage of the 988 suicide hotline and the PACT Act, earning him recognition in the East Room of the White House. Beyond his advocacy, his real estate ventures focus on supporting veterans and strengthening communities. He's a philanthropist. He's delivered over 1,000 wheelchairs to disabled children in Nepal. He's an award-winning landscape photographer, showcasing beauty and resilience in Fortune 500 campaigns and national exhibits. Really cool episode. Check it out. Misfit Nation podcast. Next up, we got...
That's not fair.
What's that?
That one person can do all that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, It didn't say how long he's been out of the military, but I mean that's a lot. The 988 suicide hotline, and then 1,000 wheelchairs to disabled children in Nepal. Like, jeez. And then the landscape photography stuff. That I mean, I did see some of the pictures. Beautiful pictures. Beautiful pictures. Next up, we got your 6 at 6 with the People's Patriot Project every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, Central Standard Time. They got like a round table that they do. They do it live on their Facebook page, People's Patriot Project. Go check it out. Other side of the firewall. This one here, they do a show every day, Monday through Friday. They got a new episode that comes out. Yeah. This week, Mr. Nash is their guest. Alfonso, I said that wrong. Mr. Nash discusses his journey into cybersecurity and the creation of the Cyber Coffee Hour podcast. This was a pretty cool episode. I've learned so much. I'm not an IT guy. I learned how to turn on my computer. I could send an email, and that's about the gist of it for me. I've learned so much about firewalls and IT and like cybersecurity and things that we really need to start looking at just from a personal standpoint, let alone what businesses really need to look at. This is a great show. Other side of the firewall. Check it out. Next up, MSEC podcast, one of my favorite groups, the Military Child Education Coalition. This week, they're excited to share the extraordinary lives of military children who have been recognized as the Operation Homefront 2025 Military Child of the Year recipients from the National Guard, Space Force, Navy, and Army families. The kids are on. Each of them get a little bit of time to talk about what it's like being a military child and whatnot. I love this organization. Oftentimes in the military, we focus so much on the service member, and you start seeing more and more things about the spouses, and it's like there's really not much that are talked about with the kids. And Military Child Education Coalition, or militarychild.org, it's a great nonprofit organization. They're based in Texas. It's all about the military child, and they have so many resources for military families. So whether you're active duty, guard, reserve, or a veteran, if you have children that are still living at home that are in school, go check out this organization and utilize the resources that they have. It's absolutely amazing. MSEC podcast, check it out. A couple more here, Trevor. Stay with me, buddy. Chasing Happiness. This week, they're diving deep into what it means to find peace and fulfillment in a world obsessed with more. If you ever found yourself chasing the next promotion, the latest gadget, or that social media worthy lifestyle, which is like fake, right? In this episode's made for you. You're going to discover 5 practical faith infused habits to help you stop chasing the wrong things and start building a purposeful life. Yeah, this is a good episode. Chasing Happiness. Last but not least, Rise Up, Voices from the Front Lines. This week sits down with musician, nonprofit trailblazer, and all around just a phenomenal human being. Our buddy Scotty Frazier joins the show. So go check that out. If you've not listened to Scotty's music, go check out the Scotty Frazier band. Great stuff. Rise Up, Voices from the Front Line. I got to give a shout out to our network sponsors from the farm. Boom. We'll check them out from thefarm.com. My Tax Fella, if you missed, I didn't even bring that up. Last week, Anthony from My Tax Fella was on. Hopefully you all got your taxes done, or you at least filed your extensions. If you have not done so, don't leave a comment. Just contact mytaxfella.com. All right. Because I don't know who else. But we've already had flickering cameras today. So they're already on to us, guys. So make sure you reach out to mytaxfella.com. Forget Genetics, another veteran-owned company. Great stuff. If you are an outdoorsman, you like the deer in your woods, make sure you go check out forgetgenetics.com. Jin Neary's live bait and tackle They got us on the hookup for all of our angler needs. They're in southern Pennsylvania. Go check them out. Jim Neary's Live Bait and Tackle, also veteran owned. Warriors on the Water Ltd. They take out veterans and first responders fishing in Maryland and southern Pennsylvania. Great organization. Fin Tactical. We thank them for our the HMG website. Love what they're doing. Go check them out. The Freedom People. If you need a trust done, go check them out. VA Claim Builder. All you vets out there, pay attention. VA Claim Builder. If you're having trouble with your claims, you're not getting the answers that you want, go to VA Claim Builder. It's a free app, and this will help you out. Go contact these guys. These guys are great. I absolutely love working with these guys. JB Auto Clothiers, we appreciate it. Another veteran-owned company, and of course, HMG Beverage, our sister company, and that is it. Trevor, thank you so much for joining me on the show this week. Appreciate everything that you do. Appreciate the funny text messages as well. We keep those coming on a personal level. But no, in all seriousness, great show. I'm excited to have you guys on. I think you guys had a fantastic first week. I'm looking forward to many, many more episodes and many more conversations with you, brother. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, that is all the time that we have today. We were well over our normal time, and we thank you for sticking on with us. Remember, today is Good Friday. Those of you that celebrate Easter, remember what today is all about. Remember what this weekend is all about. God bless you. God bless America. We'll be right back here next week, same time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.